Hey everybody, this is Russ Carson Jr., one of the genealogists here at Family Tree Nuts, and I'm in Washington County, Kentucky. I'm at the Lincoln Homestead State Park, and where I'm at is at where President Abraham Lincoln's parents lived before they met, where they met, and the area where they first got married. The story begins, Captain Abraham Lincoln, Abraham Lincoln's grandfather, of course, was a captain in the Revolutionary War, but in 1782, he brought his family, his wife and 5 children, into Kentucky. They went through the Cumberland Gap, and he received a large land grant into Kentucky. They settled first in Casey County, but in 1784, the family moved to Jefferson County, outside of modern-day Louisville. In 1786, Abraham Lincoln, the grandfather, was working out in the field with his 3 sons. A Native American from the tree line cracked a shot and shot Abraham Lincoln dead right there in the field. Young Thomas, the father of Abraham Lincoln, rushed to his side. Abraham's oldest son, Mordecai, told his middle brother, Josiah, to go to the station to get help. When Thomas ran to his father's aid, who was laying there dead on the ground, the Indian came out of the woods and was about to kill Thomas when Mordecai shot him right in the chest and killed the Indian. What a neat story that is, because if the Indian had killed Thomas, Thomas wouldn't have had Abraham Lincoln, our president. So, neat little story. The family, after the father had died, Thomas's mother, Bathsheba Lincoln, moved the family into Washington County, Kentucky, to be closer to where more population was. It was a little safer from Indian attack. So that's where Thomas Lincoln grew up, here in Washington County. Now Mordecai, the oldest brother of Thomas, inherited all of his father's property due to Virginia law. And that left Thomas without any kind of land or any kind of title. So he became a carpenter, and was a very skilled carpenter, made cabinets, made other types of furnitures and such in the area. And he was very well known, worked himself up on a couple pieces of property in the surrounding counties and around here. But behind me here, you see the house of Francis Berry, the 2-story cabin back behind me. Francis Berry lived here in Washington County, and he had a niece, Nancy Hanks. Nancy, her father had died. They were living in Virginia, and he died. When the father died, Nancy's mother and her moved into this house here with Nancy's aunt. And that's where she lived. She was a seamstress in this house right here. And Thomas Lincoln noticed her and started courting her. It's said that right inside there at the fireplace is where Thomas proposed to Nancy Hanks. Of course, the story there is that they fell in love, got married, and by Reverend Head was the fellow that done the wedding ceremony. And their wedding cabin is actually at Fort Herod State Park, inside a church right now. Shortly after they married, the couple moved to E-Town, Elizabethtown, and where Thomas started building boats for the river boats that go down the Ohio and the Mississippi River. But just a year or so later, they moved to Sinking Springs Farm, where Abraham Lincoln was born. And of course, he lost the farm and moved out into Knob Creek. And 5 years later, after the land dispute with Sinking Springs Farm had fell through, the family moved to Indiana. What you see behind me there is the memorial for Nancy Hanks, the mother of Abraham Lincoln. Once they moved into Indiana in 1816, she only lived for another 2 years. And she died in 1818 in Indiana. So when Abraham was only about 9 years old. And one of his quotes was, "All I ever will be is owed to my angel mother." So that's a wonderful quote that's been used many times. So you can see behind me that the monument is right there. There are some other things here at this location. There is a replica of the Lincoln cabin that I'm showing you here, and then of course a replica of the blacksmith shop, the carpentry shop where Thomas's father were to work. And about a mile down the road is Abraham Lincoln's uncle's house. There's another story there with Mordecai. But interesting place that I wanted to take you to that most people don't know is over here. And hey, this is the home site of the Lincoln family, Thomas Lincoln and Nancy Hanks Lincoln. And hey, remember, Family Tree Nuts. Let our nuts find the nuts in your family tree.